In this video, you'll come to understand the realist parts or aspects to you from which you are creating your experience. If you can, recall with me a point in your life in which some meaningful quote or sentence or just a phrase that came into your mind and you wrote it down for later reference. And while you're writing it down, you had to use a jargon which there are easier words that you could have used, but you felt as if the jargon would be more suitable in this sentence. Now you were not very certain of what, if the jargon exactly fits the meaning that you intended. Now you left that quote for a while, and then when you came back to reference it, whether it's for perhaps you wanted to share it on some platform or on some social media, or even with your friends on your group of friends or something, and you wanted to share it, you will always remember that you wanted to check to confirm the meaning of that jargon, to confirm it is suitable in that part of the sentence. You will know right away whether if you came back to it after a day or after a week, after a month or after 10 years, you will know right away. If you haven't, during that period, if you haven't checked, confirmed, or came across the exact meaning of that jargon, then you will remember right away that you wanted to check the meaning for that word before you actually share it with anyone, or before you reference it and make more meaning, ponder upon it. You will then want to check the exact meaning for that word. What I'm trying to say here is that this is your subconscious. This is your long-term memory. This is your subconscious. Similarly, if you have gone through an experience when you were younger or at some point, and that experience caused you to believe that you are unworthy, that you are undeserving, that you are unsuccessful, that you cannot be successful, you're a failure, you're unlovable, you won't find someone who truly loves you. And these such meanings are defined, such definitions are constructed by the ego as a coping mechanism, as a defense mechanism against an agonizing experience in which you had no one to actually explain it to you clearer, in which you had no one to make sense of it for you in a clearer manner, to explain that this is not really the purpose, it does not translate that you are this or that you're unworthy or undeserving, but rather it just such experiences happened. Now, if this is the subconscious, then what does this mean? It means then all of those things that you have, the ego have falsely defined, have falsely constructed, whenever you try to break through them, you are going to be creating from that experience. You're going to be creating from those long-term, deeply embedded self-beliefs. So if you try to find someone who truly loves you, who's truly a fit for you, suitable for you, but you are deeply you believe that you're loved, that you only deserve love, conditional, or you're unlovable even, that you might need to do this and that in order for you to have someone who loves you, and someone shows up, you first of all, there is two aspects or several aspects, but psychologically you're not going to believe it. You're going to think to yourself that this can't be true, that something wrong is going to come out of this, that this is only going to lead to a disaster, because this cannot be real. This love is not real. Maybe it's just a facade and something more menace is laying underneath. Secondly, it's not going to happen because energetically you're not aligned with it. You believe deeply that you cannot be loved, or that you have to do a million things in order for someone to really love you. And unless you do those things, or unless you heal, you address this feeling, then you are going to be creating the experience of you being unlovable. You are going to be manifesting through your higher self eyes, through the mind of your higher self, an experience that proves to you that you are in fact unlovable. And so something is going to happen, or you're going to create another thing within this relationship that's going to mess it up, break it apart. And then you're going to reaffirm to yourself, I knew it, I knew that I was. Although these things don't happen consciously, it is what's happening deeply within you, and that's why you might feel disconnected from who you are. You're not aware of yourself, you're not very conscious of who you truly are, because you did not really explore yourself. Just like that jargon that you had to go back to and re-explore it and confirm what it means. If you don't go back to those deeply self-embedded beliefs and address them and heal them and confirm whether it's right, whether it's wrong, then they're just going to be there. They're going to be laying stagnant, idle within you without your awareness, and you're only going to be creating such experiences based on this reality. This is what's mostly real, because no matter if you go to it, if you come to it after a month, a year, or 10 years, it is still within you. That's a long-term memory. Those are the constructs that were formed by the ego in order to make sense out of life, in order to feel safe. Similarly, like I mentioned in one of my previous videos, if you were taught that emotional abuse is your safety, or any abuse for that matter is your safety, because, for example, your parents were emotionally abusive, they're narcissistic, they did not have the capability, they did not have the space really to heal themselves, and so they just reflected who they are on you. That's not to blame anyone, that's the best what they could have done to the best of their ability. But nonetheless, regardless, what happens is that if you do something wrong from their perspective, now you're living in fear, you feel threatened, because once they are going to know, something bad is going to happen. You just remain uncomfortable, you remain not really in your skin, you just want to cope and avoid, and you keep having to cope and creating all of those defense mechanisms until they know. And once they know, you remain feeling threatened until they know, and once they know, they emotionally abuse you, or they abuse you in any sense, and now it's gone. Now you feel safe again, and that's how you translated that emotional abuse means safety. And whatever you fear is one of the most intense emotions, and that's why it overshadows, overwhelms any other emotion that you might be having, any other feeling that you might be feeling, and you create mainly from your fear. So you're going to see it reoccurring. Whatever you feared, whatever you're truly fearing, you're now manifesting into your external reality. And how you do that, for example, if you feared failure, or if you feared being not loved, so you knew you always had conditional loving going on, conditional loving relationship with someone in your childhood, and you were always in fear of not being loved. You knew you had to do this and that and that and that to be loved. Once you grow up, this stays with you. So what you're doing is that you're doing all of these things. You're gonna do a million things in order for you to attract love, thinking that you are attracting love, and once you meet someone, you're gonna be doing all of these things to attract that love from that partner. But in reality, it might be overwhelming that person. They will see it, they will sense that you are resisting, that you are in fear, that you are needy, that you are desperate, and then also they're going to be overwhelmed by the intensity of what's going on and the amount of things that you're doing, thinking that this is what leads to true love, because you've grown so accustomed to conditional love. And in turn, they're going to be overwhelmed, and it's going to break apart this potential relationship. And that's how you are creating from your fear center. Whatever you fear is whatever going to be to keep recreating in your life. Those are the experiences you're going to be manifesting, because whatever you are manifesting. This whole life is manifested in the aspect of your higher dimensional being, from the perspective of your higher dimensional being, and the way you choose to experience it is the path it takes. And that's how, whenever you felt, that this is your safety, so you're going to keep, this is going to be deeply embedded within you, and it's going to be what is real, a long-term memory for your lifetime. And whatever you use to make sense out of life, such as, I am a failure, that's why this happened, I'm unlovable, that's why, I'm experiencing conditional love, so on and so forth, then those are the long-term memories. This is your subconscious, and that's what you're going to keep attracting based from that long-term memory. Even if you do something, even if something pops out, even if you have an opportunity, you're going to resort to your programming, to your original preset factory settings, if you will. Just like that word you had to go back to explore once you were referencing that sentence you wrote. Similarly, you have to go back within you to explore what's within you, to know what's the true aspect you are harboring, what's your true aspect, what's your true self, what have you programmed yourself on, what have you been conditioned to, and that's blocking you from everything that you actually want in life. That's why this is what's healing is. You go back inside yourself, you go back and re-explore whatever hurt you and see it for what it truly is, that it was just an experience, that it was just a normal thing that happened, but it was just my ego out of survival that defined it in such a way, and that's why it holds no real value. And that's why you become, once you acknowledge it, once you're aware of it, the attachment starts loosening. Once you understand anything, that's a universal law. Once you understand anything, it has less and less power over you. Just like that problem you did not understand how to solve, once you understood how to solve, it did not bother you as much. So once you acknowledge those emotions, once you see them, once you acknowledge that little inner child who cried for help so many years ago, once you acknowledge him, once you acknowledge that little child, I don't know what happened here, it starts loosening up. Your ego starts understanding that it's safe, that it's not, and it does not have to live from survival, and it starts now, you are able now to change those perspectives, to change those definitions, to shift your reality. And that's when you are able to create from the new you, from your conscious mind, because now consciously you can tell yourself, you can teach yourself that I can make sense out of life through a different approach. I can feel safe by just being, by not, recreating my fears, to take back control of it. Some of us just are in desperate need to control anything they can, because there was just so much out of control for them at some point. And by recreating your fears, by recreating your traumas, by recreating your defense your what you used to make sense out of life, then now you're taking back control. You're doing it on your own terms, and you keep recreating your cycles rather than it being forced upon you. Now you're doing it on your own terms, and that's why it is easy to live your entire lifetime recreating from your past, from your subconscious, the real you. So the next time you are going into something, ask yourself, what is my real perspective towards this? What is my real self-belief regarding this experience? Is it going to assist me, whatever self-belief I harbor is going to assist me in actually creating the result I want out of this experience, or is it going to go against me? And once you are aware that this is what you need to heal, that those are what the center of creation, that this is your center of creation, you are able to live consciously. Thank you for being here and sharing this message with me. Thank you for tuning into another video by AF's Conscious Frequency. If you learned something, don't forget to like and subscribe, because it helps the video find its way to many others who might actually need it.